Good evening, Mr. Jumaa.
Good evening, Mr. Hamid. How are you?
I'm fine, and everything is fine?
Yeah, everything's fine.
Okay, all right, okay. Dear teachers, I want all of you to turn on the video when the class is going on. Request everybody to turn on the video. It is almost time for us to begin. So in order to make the session active, we want to see each other. So requesting everybody to turn on the video, okay?
Good evening, respected Chairman, Honorable Principal, Vice Principal, teachers, and our special resource person of the day. Welcome to this session on online safety, protect your information, and prevent unsafe practices. Before we get into the proceedings, our deepest condolences goes to His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the President of the UAE and the ruler of Abu Dhabi. His Highness, you will be sadly missed and well remembered. Can we all observe a minute of silence to pay homage to the departed soul? Thank you, everyone. Prayer is not just asking something to God. We pray because we have a lot to thank God for what He has given. It is my privilege to invite Shamsher Babu to recite a few verses from the Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين صدق الله مولانا العلي العظيم وصدق وبلغ رسول النبي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين السلام عليكم.
Let me now invite Mrs. Soumya Satish to give the welcome speech.
Respected Chairman, Principal, Vice Principal, and today's guest, Mr. Mohamed Jumaa Al Jneibi, Finance Manager, Supervisors, and dear colleagues, a very good evening all. In today's digital era, going online is a part of everybody's life and it is inevitable even for necessity. Here we are now scheduling an online guidance program on online safety. It's my privilege to welcome our chairman, Mr. Habib Mundol, who is the backbone of our school and is a continuous encouragement to us. We welcome you, sir. I would like to extend my warm welcome to our dear principal, Mr. Hamid Ali Yahya, who is a perfect guide and a role model to all of us. We welcome you, sir. Next, I would like to welcome our chief guest, Mr. Mohamed Jumaa Al Jneibi, Enterprise Risk Management Manager, who will be taking us through the session. We welcome you, sir. Next, I would like to extend my welcome to our Vice Principal Taju sir, Finance Manager Shamla ma'am, Supervisors Sita ma'am and Prasad sir, and my dear colleague. Once again, a great welcome to all of you. I conclude. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Soumya. Before getting started with today's session, ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you that an attendance and feedback form will be posted in the chat area soon. You're all requested to fill the same before the end of the session. It will be posted in the chat area soon. Now, back to our resource person, Mohamed Jumaa, the Enterprise Risk Management Manager. So he is going to give us some guidance about online safety. There was a time when we all enjoyed going out for fishing, but fishing in online platform is not at all safe, right? So he will be guiding us about all the safety measures that we have to adopt while staying online. With the utmost pleasure, I welcome you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much for this welcome. My name is Mohamed Al Jneibi. I'm an eSafe board member since 2019 and onwards. And if you can see my slides, so we can begin with the session. Can you see the slides? So we can confirm?
Yes, we can see.
Yes, we can see. Okay. So thank you very much for attending this session. This session will talk about how do you protect your information and how to prevent unsafe practices. First of all, I'll just give you a glimpse of what is eSafe, which stands for Emirate Safer Internet Society. It was founded in 2015. And the main purpose is how to make UAE professionals and young adults in the online era to be safer and to protect from themselves from any threats that is already in the digital world. So our mission is to be recognized as a center for children and youth online protection. And our mission is to guide them through an advocacy and awareness session and building capacity and engagement with stakeholders in the online safety subject. So moving forward, this is my just brief profile. I have 14 years experience in quality management, business continuity, and recently 5 years in risk management. My devotion for this subject of an online safety is if I don't agree or disagree in the online, I need to respect some guidelines, rules, how to be safer surfing the net and using this information and also the services that is already online. And the second purpose is just to safeguard our nation and also safeguard the future generation from children and youth. So moving forward, this is the agenda for this session. We'll just give you a brief definition of what do we mean by online safety and what does it mean to us, and a glimpse of what do we mean by cyber law and what is the mitigation that we need to take care of since this is a government law. And the main session is 2 parts. Part 1, which is protecting my information, and the second part, how to prevent unsafe practices. So the first slide will just take off what do we mean by online safety. Is the similar activity that we perform in a physical world, but now once we are in the internet, it's a different kind of collaboration. So the nature of possibility threats can happen in the internet, but without even for us to be known. And the basic principles that we need to follow is these 5 words. Safe is I need to be safe of whom do I meet and whom do I not meet. And to be safer is not to share my personal information. To accept is to accept what sort of sources that I've been using. And the 4th one is reliable. I need to check which reliable source that I'm using or I'm searching for. until the last one is, to whom do I need to speak if I feel a discomfort of a distorting picture or information, and to talk to a very close family member or an adult in my family or friends group. So moving on, the slides just talk a glimpse of what is the cyber law that enacts since 2001 and 2021 and 2022. And the updates is they have added some provisions, since it is a new law that sometimes some incidents happen in the online. We need to make capture and to have a governance rules around it. Specifically, when we talk about gambling activities, sometimes it have been included as a gaming act of, sometimes we receive an instruction from the gaming people that directing the children to do some unsafe activities. The additional is the human trafficking and also donations without having a granted license from the respected government sources. And also we already know that about the credit cards and banking information that is floating around, and using some of the techniques that sometimes they ask our personal information to be shared through email or mobile security. So we'll just have a glimpse of what is the internet statistics says about the online safety. Since we are living in the UAE, since January, we have internet users around 9.9 million users, which comprise with an internet penetration rate, which is 99%. The 1% is the people who don't have access to a phone or to an account, just basically on their what is the life can offer to them. So the third point is about the internet users. They are adding in a yearly basis as by 1%, and the rest is talking about the mobile internet connection speed, which increasing to cater the needs of the individual and the government to provide better service to our nation. On the right side of this slide, we see that the most top societal fear in UAE since last 2021 and 2022 is you see that 74% is related to hackers and cyber attacks. And the first one is suddenly the job loss, since we have started the pandemic in earlier 2020. And the second one is the climate change. So what we've seen so far is the cyber attacks is an actual top 10 incidents that every single person and an entity should have a concern around it and have a preparedness plans and guidelines around it. So let us start with the part one, which is talking about how do we protect our information, how do we protect our PC, and a glimpse of what sort of a social engineering attacks that we may have heard about it or we've been experiencing on it. So protecting your information is very important because security is not an option, it's a necessity. And the security, there is two types of security. The first one is information, and the second one is cyber security. When we talk about information, we talk about the information that is under your control, that you can disclose, that you can have an authorized access around it, and also if there is any role in disruption or a modification. So it follows the principle that every information should have a confidentiality level, and every information should have an integrity level, and its availability of this information. And whether it is information related to a government or related entity or even small departments inside one entity. When we talk about the cybersecurity is in a different word. And here, when we talk about information security, is the information that we have as a personal information of the profile of our kids and profile of our department, and also with other divisions. So what is the security concerns in here is how we deal with each one is a different way, but they are complementing each other. In the cyber security, we tackle the electronic equipments and also the networking outside our internet use, which is, for example, governments, telecommunication. They already have these telecommunication rules and guidelines already set. What happened in the cyber security, we cannot even imagine, but we cannot even have a control at it. So that is other people's concern and security from that side. But what sort of other technologies that can prevent the cybersecurity to be lost or in a failure? And how do you can protect yourself from that? So moving on to the next is just an explanation of what is the three principles of having an information. And the first one is the confidentiality, that you should have a specific role who should access this information and to what extent he can use the information. The second is the integrity, who has the role to change it and who has the role to announce the changes and make sure that these changes are controlled. And the third part is availability, in which medium this information is available and to who have the source and the control over it. So why we are posing a question is, why is information security important to us? Because we are dealing with so many types of information. We store the information, we use the information, and we already provide some access to it. And we use it through various types of devices. We have a PC, we have a tablet, and we have a mobile. And sometimes we have also documents and in other means. So we need to understand what sort of information security we need to pose on each device, on also the form that we use this information. The second point is about the types of information. As we said before, we have a personal information and we have a non-personal information, which is sometimes public or sometimes in other form that need to know. But in an entity like a school or a government, they have a specific type of information, which is sometimes government information, sometimes customer information, financial information, governance, and business related. So it depends on what type of information you have. It also depends on how this information can be valuable to the organization and what sort of controls and set of guidelines that they need to set to protect that valuable asset. The third is we are talking about information. Information is an asset, and once we have a control over it, how to protect it and how to enable our users to perform their business, that is in a better way, and also to prevent any potential loss of this information, because if we don't value our information, other people can steal it and value it from their end. And it can cause us some other threats. For example, it can be a monetary, that it will be valued for a round of how many currencies. Reputation is, it will drive our reputation that we could take care of our information, specifically customer information or family's information. And also it takes time and effort to recover the loss of this information in other entities and also in the bigger entities. That's why it is important to understand why information security is important to us. So since we say the information, there is always a key gateway to open this information and to have a use. And one of the key is the password. So that is the one key that we can have, and we need to protect it because most of the passwords are being hackable because it's not that strong enough to protect our source information. And it also can be a first line of defense because we need to protect it to prevent our other cyber criminals to target these passwords. Because once they have these passwords, they have access to every single information we have stored after cracking that password. And we'll give you just an example of what do we mean by strong password and how to take care of how you can brainstorm a new good strong password from your side. For example, if we say, let us say that we need to password that is very different and very unique. For example, this word Emirates. So if we take each and every letter of this, the word Emirates, and just select the number or the icon above it. So it will appear like 3J star, $Q, a percentage, and hash, and capital W. And here we can say we use the letter, the small letter, and the capital letter, and also number. And the third one is specific characters. This is another one. Muhammad was born to be a soldier. So I take only the first capital letter of each word and combine it together. And instead of writing the word to, as we wrote it as a number, just to break the cycle and have a specific character in the middle, just to change the whole cycle and make it more a unique password. And the last one is I have two cats, Cookie and Monster, and this is how we can use the I as an exclamation mark, the H, the 2, and the C as a capital, and then C and M as a capital. Don't say that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a very safe password. It can be crackable in few days or few hours, because most of the technology now has been improved from capturing the characters and specific characters, and also the numbers around it, and the timeline have been also reduced with the new technology of hardware and software. So we need to take care of our password, and we need to change it in periodical basis. For that, we'll just end up with the password best practices. That the first one guideline is not to share your password with anyone. And if you have a memory of not memorizing those passwords, don't write it down in a very plain sheet of paper. Hide it somewhere and make it in save it in a very safe box. And use the ability of changing these passwords and having a separate password for each account. And don't use the same password for all the accounts, because it will increase the level and the likelihood of having these passwords to be crackable and approachable by the cyber criminals. And the last but not least, just make sure that you don't save the password in the browser, because sometimes in Chrome or Edge, they are asking you, do you want to save this password? Say never. Don't say only no. Say never, because it will not save your password in the browser and can be saved in the cache memory, which is the cache memory of the browser. Once you are in the middle of the transaction, it will save this critical information related to your personal information. And the last is just don't allow any application to store your password, whether you are installing a new application, unless it is from a trusted source and you already know about that source. Moving forward, we'll just talk about how do you protect your computer. In the PC, we have so many layers of protection. The first one is when we have a firewall, which protect you from any external cyber attacks internally, from external internet-wide, and also protecting you from any leakages or weaknesses in that firewall. The second is the operating system. Just make sure the operating system is always updated, and the browser and software are also updated. Have the antivirus also updated and also monitored in a way that you have random tests and random scans, just to check if there is any miraculous websites or miraculous links have been slipped in and be in your PC for a long time, just to make sure that it's doing its job as an antivirus. The last, before its backup and recovery, we need also make sure that information is not stored in one place or one hard disk. You need to have at least a backup plan and how to recover that in case you need that file in a very short term. And the last is just make sure that if any sensitive files you need to encrypt it in a better way, and to safeguard any sensitive data that is not encrypted. So for this, as a short and brief reminder, make sure that you turn on your desktop firewall, make sure you update the operating system in a regular basis, just to highlight if there is any gaps or any controls that they need to be fixed, and sometimes error bugs from the source manufacturer. Also update your browser and antivirus. Make sure the applications that you use, sometimes specifically, I hear an echo. Can you close your mic? Yes, okay. So in continuation to this, I'm hearing an echo still. Someone is switching the mic? Okay, now it's okay. So we're just continuing from the point of using the updated antiviruses, updated applications. Specifically, if you're using specific applications, just make sure all the applications are updated and also tested from any potential leakages or potential fixes that require to be updated. And the last but not least, make sure your data is encrypted and backed up in other like external hard drive or another PC. So for this, we just go to the next slide, which is talking about social engineering. Social engineering in a very plain layman language, it's like someone will phone you and make you give you like a brief introduction in a very storyline way, just to get your buy-in, to get you into that story and be a part of it. And just what is the purpose is just to perform the actions that it will end up him giving, receiving these personal information that he wants it from you. For example, where do you live, or what do you work, or which bank account you have, and if you have any credit card also, and how much would you like to buy our service or product. So this is kind of a social like engineering. They want just to glitches, to take you in a storyline, to be one of those like wanted people, and giving you a story that, okay, this is the scenario that we are living out, and I think you are interested in this product, and this is why we are calling you to give you this service. So let's move on just to give you a discussion about how the social engineering is also different from one another. Why they are searching? They are searching specifically information and also a sensitive information, like where do you live and what is your bank account number, what is your credit card number, just to get what they want. They want the gateway to your financial or gateway to your identity, just to use it on their behalf without your acknowledgement and without your approval. So the second point is identity theft. Sometimes they take your identity and make transactions on your name, which sometimes it's inappropriate, and sometimes it's not legitimate, what they call it, transactions. The third one is targeted attacks. Sometimes they targeted you for a specific kind of product because they are looking for those people who are just looking on these kind of services that you are just punching in when you are searching Google. So they have some softwares to collect this information and make you the next target for them. For this, we are saying, okay, why do they succeed most of the time? Because the first thing is human trust. Sometimes we trust the people who are giving us a nice service, even though we are not looking at it at the moment, but it's one of the checklists that we are looking for. The second thing is sometimes we don't have a good awareness of information security, and that's why these kind of scenarios happen and successfully being shown. And sometimes it's already in the news that several attacks have been happening in this way. The third one is sometimes we don't have like a very good security policy procedures, and we lack the awareness around it and how to protect our information and emails in the work or at a personal life. And the last but not least, also the information have an access rights. For example, who should have the read-only role, who have the edit-only role, and who have the full access. For example, the admin or the manager have the full access for this kind of source of information. So moving forward, these are the tips of how do you protect yourself and your organization from those kind of social engineering attacks. The first one is to have an awareness in a yearly basis, training sessions for 1 hour and half an hour, and sometimes can be a video or a computerized software awareness session. The second is to have a set of policies and procedures that will help us to understand how those social engineering threats can be prevented. The third is to create a culture that how we can secure our information in a better way, just to share good examples and lessons learned. And the fourth one is when we are providing a personal information, we need to avoid that because we don't want to become a victim of these attacks. For example, phishing or smishing or vishing. So number 5 is if we are in an organization, it is better and best way to allow this organization to have a periodical test of the network, of the applications, of the emails server, just to make sure if anything have been checked as a bug or a fix, they need to fix it as soon as possible. It's better than late and found out that there is a crash in the system because of that incident. Number 6 is when we have a waste management, if we have a lot of junk mails, of a lot of documents that we don't use, just make sure that if you have any document that you don't use, just delete it in a proper way, far away from being to avoid any dumpster diving. Dumpster diving, for example, if you have a set of documents you deleted, but it sits on the recycle bin for a longer time, that it will be a good spot for any criminal to check there. If there is any specific file, he will take it and use it as a social engineering or as a next threat for your PC or for your accounts. Number 7, when we talk about identity token, which is security pass, it has various ways. For example, don't share your ID with anyone, even your friends, your colleague. The security pass is for you and for you only. Don't share it and don't even help other colleague to enter on your behalf. And avoid tailgaters, which means someone who's coming to you that I have this package to be delivered to that person, but that person sits in the other side of that door, but I need to deliver to him. So you need to stop him and say who sent you and who's the person responsible for this, and let him take care and who's the responsible person who should receive that package. Let him come personally and receive it from that, and don't allow him to use you as a tailgater. Number 8, if you have using your computer is only for work, just use it for that purpose. And if it is your PC, use your PC only for your own transaction. Don't allow yourself to use a public PC for any personal or work related, unless it is already checked and provided by your IT department. Number 9 is to read all the 8 points and remind yourself on how to protect yourself. For the second part of this session is how to prevent an unsafe practice, because prevention is better than cure. And preventing it is just to make sure that we understand what sort of email security that I need to be aware of, and what is the browser security I need to be aware of, and what sort of mobile security I need to be aware of. So the first thing is email security. Let us talk about why do we need to secure our emails, because it is containing data. We send data and receive data, and sometimes we store some in the inbox and some in the specific folder. And the second point is it's representing our role and access to that email. It is our email, it's under our name. Anything can happen to any email in the organization or any email that you use. So it is also authenticate that you are the sender and you can receive those kind of email communication, and to which subject that it's mostly common on that filter. The third is avoid having junk mails, because it's the most sweet spots for the criminals to get those emails, to understand who's your contact email address, what is the kind of subjects that you are talking about in that junk email, and who's your recipient and other people that we can involve. So for that, emails have a different type of threats. The first threat is phishing. When we talk about phishing, it's one of the kind that it's showing that, okay, that phishing, I'll send an email to this person, I'll just replace one of the logos with a company logo and say, dear customer, I'm contacting you for asking you to update your profile. Here is the link to update your profile. And once you just skim on that link, you will see a very long address, which is very malicious website. It doesn't represent the company. It's not having the company's initial, and it's not even in the country. Like it's not representing .ae, for example, in Emirates. It's representing some outlook.com or google.com or gmail.com. The second point is social engineering, as we have explained it earlier. It's just manipulating an individual and asking him for a confidential information, but in a way, it is socially that it's interacting with person to person. Spam is when we say that spam is so many emails that we receive as a spam, and it is messages sent over the email in a large quantity to a user just for the purpose of sending advertising, sometimes spreading malware, since they are including these malwares as an attack, but under a file name, and that file name is in a different extension. So we need to be careful of whom do we send and whom do we receive. And if we receive this kind of a suspicious email, we need to check the address and the logo, and if there is any specific spelling mistakes in the header, in the title, or even in the body of that email. Miraculous attacks is just an attack that is launched from a user computer, which is sometimes comes from a miraculous emails, specifically if it is email with a PDF or a link or a Word document. Miraculous links is just a link that is already created just to scam you and to attack your PC, and it has a specific infected URL which can be just run through your mouse, and just you can see the link in a very tedious and improper way. You can see so many numbers, characters in that link. Then you will understand, okay, this is a miraculous link that have been attacked or reached my inbox. I need to do something about it. It's very easy. Just click and delete the email. Email flooding is just when they use they're sending so many emails in your account for just flooding your email with a large amount of attachments, because it will increase the size, and it will, in order for that to happen, it will disable your network, and you cannot even use your mail server again, just to disturb the service of the email server. And the last thing is the smishing. Smishing is when you receive an SMS messages that, okay, we have new service 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you are interested, go to this link. And it is very easier in mobile to be concerned about, because in the website you can at least run through that link, and you can see if it is from a suspicious website or not. But in SMS is very tricky, because you cannot see that through your through the link. But just make sure that whatever sent to you as a commercial, just don't reply to it, because one of the 10 times it may be having some link that will direct to another website and can be hacking your mobile. For that, we need a specific policy, which we call it as an email security policy. This is when we have a governance document that it will say, okay, I need to forward, if I need to have an automatic forwarded email, I need to have a set of rules and regulation on how to protect my company's information. In case if I'm contacting with other colleagues in other areas. And the second point is email policy, is how do I deal with the email of my corporate one, because that's a specific purpose for a specific time. And all employees should prevent not sending all personal stuff through their company's email address, and vice versa. And the last but not least is the email retention policy, is how much information I need to retain in that email service. And for example, in the next 5 years, I need to retain this document because maybe I'll use it after 1 or 2 years. And once you have decided to remove it, just remove it and keep it as a backup in case if you need it, just to remove any evidences that it may add your space and maybe disrupt your performance of the PC. And make sure that it is not that of critical sensitivity. So second, we'll talk about mobile security. Mobile security, there is so many types of threats. We can say that most of the threats in the mobile can corrupt your data. Sometimes you encrypt your data and ask for money around it. and you're not sure whether that encrypted data can be even retrieved again. The malware infection, so many malware infections have been attacked by the mobile, and it can destroy either the hardware or the software, or disrupt the phone totally, that you cannot use even the phone. And sometimes it can block your account. The third one, sometimes misuse of data. So many threats causes the misuse of data because it has wiped other part of the software. It can corrupt the whole data loss around it. And the last is the resource abuse, is when they send one spam email or one spam SMS to your user, and then you click on. So it will trigger that execution code to attack your phone and disrupt the whole mobile activity. For that, we just advise to have a set of two-factor authentication, which means that I am the mobile user and I'm the mobile owner, and this is my official number and official email name. Once you lost, for example, the password, you can come back again and to ask for two-factor authentication, just to make sure that you are the right owner and you are the specific user for this phone and account. And it can be used for iOS and also Android. The same thing is just make sure the OS operating system of your device is already updated, because some of the older updates does not has a security threat and gaps, and if it takes on your mobile, it will delete either your critical information that is already stored in the mobile, and sometimes it can encrypt or disrupt the phone mobility. The second thing is once you have a tracking device used for the apps, just say no, because it will save all your tracking history. It will show which places that you have visited, which places you've already been recently, and maybe it can be a potential threat or attack by marketers or even criminals. The last but not least is the browser, since we all use the browser in a daily basis for research and for enjoyment and entertainment and also personal stuff. Sorry. Miraculous website is the website that doesn't have any security or authentication around it, and it will have a very infection rate on that. Let's go back to this. Yes. So just make sure that you have an updated antivirus program that will take care of the machine and also the websites that are around it. And also the trusted websites holds HTTPS, which is the security side of it. It is authenticated and verified. And the last thing, once you have completed the transaction in that page, just close the web page, because it will close the transaction and save and remove all the cache information that is already stored after the transaction has been completed, and to avoid any storing of any sensitive critical information. The next slide, we're talking about the risks of once we have web browsers, that's most of the common tools to access the information. These are the potential risks around it. Sometimes it causes the loss of privacy information, which is credit card and identity theft, which is the most important identity theft, because without it, we cannot use or be the same person again. The second one is unauthorized use of your computer. Maybe they will have access to your computer or mobile to use it for their needs. The third, the infected computers can have also been a very threat to the PC. It may harm the hardware, the software, or even the motherboard to wipe every single information you have in your PC. The fourth one is the risk of having stolen or deleted personal information, which most of these tools have access to. And the last but not least, identity theft, which is mainly of how we need to secure our identity theft around that. So for that, we just give you a glimpse of what is the best practices around web browsers. is don't share the personal information, whatever, even if the site is secure, even if you don't know the source of this website. Once you finish the transaction, just close the web page and open a new one if you want to continue with another site. The second thing, just disable scripts, because these are the scripts that changes the codes and make an opening for a new code to be built in, and it causes your PC to slow down sometimes because it's working somewhere else in your PC to steal information or just to monitor your transaction. The third is just make sure that when you log into your website and you're done with it, just close it. Just make sure that the sensitive information is not stored in the cache memory. Last but not least, once you have the padlock sign in on, make sure it is off when you when you close in the sign in off. So the second slide is just a continuation of what is the best practices, is just make sure that also your browser is an up-to-date version and it is updated regularly. Once the manufacturer announces it, you will know by notification. The second, the operating system should be already updated with the latest patches, sometimes for security reasons, sometimes for performance reasons. Antivirus and anti-spyware software should be also updated, and make sure that it is updated in a regular basis, and also run for yourself some tests just to make sure that your PC is clean and there is no worries on your PC performance or your application performance. Make sure your updated applications are installed with the latest patches to the from respected browsers and also secured browsers. And the last one is using the firewall, make sure that it is updated with the latest patches. The last slide is mostly common, which is when we talk about the pop-in windows, which sometimes you have advertisement here, marketing here, go to visit this website. We have a new added gift over here. You've won a prize over there. So many pops in here and there. Just make sure that you block in those pops, because one of them it's either a link to a miraculous item, or it can direct you to somewhere else. The second one is once you have a very solid browser security, you need just to make sure that you increase the level of that security to a medium. Don't make it minimum, because if it is minimum, it will invite so many attacks, or sometimes luring around that block pop-up windows. The one before does never cache any of those passwords forms containing personal info details. The cache is just a small memory that saves all the personal information once you are doing the transaction online. Once you close the web page, it just removes and deletes those cache information. The last is but not least, just make sure when you install the plugins for the specific application or a browser, make sure it is from an authenticated same source that you installed the application, just to avoid any link, any loophole in the process. Because most of the advantages in these loopholes, it happens very smart and very quick, and that will be a very case for the criminals to take an advantage over it. For this, thank you very much for listening. The last thing is just a quote from Stefan Nepo. He says, "Technology trust is a good thing, but control is a better one." And the last statement, what happens in social media stays in Google forever. These are the resources that I have been used for this session, and I'm happy to receive your questions. Thank you very much for listening.
So Ambali, you can monitor the Q&A session.
Yes, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, if you have any queries related to e-safety, please post your question. You can either post it in the chat area, or feel free to ask. The attendance and the feedback form is posted in the chat area. Meanwhile, you can fill in the same. But in between, if you would like to know more about it or any further clarification regarding the different safety measures that Mr. Jumaa had discussed with us, it is time for you to ask questions.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah. I want to ask you something regarding filtering systems. Is there any mechanism or software is available except filtering of web filtering or URL filtering, MAC filtering, except that? Is there any other mechanism we can use?
Filtering mechanism, there is like specific software, but there is so many sources around. Just make sure that you have an authenticated filtering, just to make sure that the sources of that filtering is very legitimate, because some of them are expensive and some of them you cannot find unless you are in the dark web, which is this filtering. What they use specific words, they're looking for specific characters, and they're just having a counter around it. So they will just search on your behalf until they say, okay, we have captured this and we have captured this. And then they will take these kind of words just to search who's the users having these kind of using this as a password or as an email or as a subject. So it will directly lead to them.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Is it necessary in the school, like this filtering software? Can we use this web filtering, URL filtering? Is this enough in the school, or we have to buy something like that?
Well, in the schools, you can just have like a basic security online system from framework. From that, you don't need like that filtering unless you want to just to limit the use of the internet. For example, you want the limit of, for example, entertainment kind of websites, a specific website by the name, you can use filtering, and specifically chat box or gamings, you can use this filtering in that area. So there is like specific softwares and system. It can be embedded in like one server, and it can spread out your school network of PCs.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Anything more you would like to know, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, Samiha Latif, you have got a question. Shamir, can you please make her a presenter?
Or you can switch the mic.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am, you can talk.
Hi, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, your session was really informative. Really, we all enjoyed it, and most of the information which you have mentioned, which is very useful for the students to be taught and to be made understood. I have a query. I just would like to know how often is cyber crime reported from students or underage in UAE, or what are the major threats that the students come across, and is there any method to prevent it so that children doesn't go to many dangers, serious danger issues?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So from a student point of view, there is also a learning tool.
Mm-hmm.
You can have an online learning tool for them, or you can have 1 hour to 2 hours in a weekly basis about the cybersecurity, and show them the good side and what is the benefit of having, for example, using YouTube. So there is so many good tools. YouTube is a good tool, but if you have a different objective, it will give you that objective. So it depends on what do you direct the student to do. For example, in schools, you have giving some homeworks to have searching kind of what they call it, an assignment or a project, and they can do a presentation. So you give them like what is the sources that you can do, and how do you search, and what is the behavior behind that search. And when you give them, for example, okay, if I need to prepare a presentation, There is so many sites that will give you a presentation. But how do you look into that source or that tool? That is the behavior behind it, and also the principle. When I need to look in, I need to look in, for example, specific keywords. I need to search, okay, what kind of presentation slides I need to create and what kind of colors. Once you have this basics, like very basic search engines, like search principles, I need to search of this and this and this. There is so many tools, but the most important thing is how do you use this tool for this project only. And the most important thing is just give them a guidance of, okay, what sort of things that you want to do differently for this project. For example, give them at least a creative moment, how they can brainstorm a new idea. They can do the same homework, but give them a creative session that, okay, how to look into these websites. There is so many tools. There is a good tools and a bad tool. You can have like a list of 10 tools. These are the tools that we want you to use, and it will be a very a good approachable. Then you give them, okay, go to Google and search whatever you want. So at least you'll have a specific tools that you rely on, and also give them a space of creativity. Not, okay, I know how to use YouTube or Instagram or LinkedIn or how to search for something else. Give them other resources. Let them use those resources, like different ones, but serving the same purpose. So change, kind of have like a change of 1 to 2 things. Don't stick, for example, to the 10 golden principles, as they can say, but make them also accountable of following those 10 principles, but you can have a different style and different way to present it. Hopefully I answered your question, ma'am.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Yes, tell me. Mr. Hamid, how are you?
Okay, thank you. Yes, of course, as Samiha ma'am said, the session is a wonderful session. We all got a lot of information about the cybersecurity and how to protect our children, ourselves from online threats. Okay, you know that, you see, one of the means of cyber bullying is...
Thank you, sir. That was really helpful. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. Thank you, miss. Yes, continue, Hamid.
Okay, yes, one of the means of cyberbullying is, of course, identity theft.
Correct.
We know that there is a threat like that one, but if we know how this is made possible, that will be easier for we people to be protected ourselves from that one. So can you just give us some idea how this identity theft is made possible for for this cyberbullying?
So when we talk about identity theft, we're talking about, okay, what sort of accounts that I need to use on your behalf. For example, if you have a Twitter account or a TikTok account and you are very famous, I'll see what sort of subject you are creating, what sort of topics you are discussing, and what is the pictures that you're posing. So I'll create a scenario from like a criminal mind. I will think of, okay, how can I shall use this accounts, which has a lot of visibility. You have so many likes on that, and you have so many important sometimes contacts, and you have famous people on that. So how can I destroy that? Just think of it from a criminal mind, just not from a good personal person who work in a school. Just go to that. Okay, he have so many things. Sometimes they have an envy kind of side of it. And okay, how can I use this against him? It's not like a toy that I will play for a short time and return it. No, I need to use it against him. So whatever good part from your side you are creating, and everyone is happy and also likable. Some of them you already met in physically. Most of them are sometimes online. So he will take an advantage of that account. He will try to crack on that account and create something else. He will take a snapshot images, and he will say, see, what he's saying, how he's doing. So he will create another image of you, which is not correct, but just to distort the image that you already created. Now, cyberbullying is just to see what is your personality, how do you interact with people, and use against you. So see, everyone is not perfect, but we are trying to learn. That is the one way. But what he's want to is to see the gaps that maybe you see or you don't see and use it against you. So he will take that account and make some pictures. Sometimes he will hack into your account without even your knowing. He will post few things and make your audience and your famous people to be astonished. How come this person was yesterday doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a good way, but now today he's doing something else? It's very easy. So identity theft, it didn't start today. It started even from the internet. Once you have a new nice email, the first nice email I have, the first password I have, so many hacks because it was very easy on that old days to hack into your email. But now with the new technology, with the social engineering kind of thing, they use it also for billing company. Specifically, a few attacks have been happening also in US regarding this. Some of them, they just contact families. They will say, okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we need you to update your credentials. What is your password you're using? What is your bank information? 1, 2, 3. And they're using against you. So either they will delete your account and you will have no electricity at your home, and they will steal your money. The same thing when they use social engineering for cyberbullying. They can take your account, they can delete your account, or can have even posting some discomfort pictures or discomfort content just to make that account here. And also sometimes when they post a very negative content or pictures, maybe Twitter sometimes close that account. So you'll be in a predicament for both sides, from a Twitter point of view and also from the cyberbullying who take advantage of this account, and he can make even more worse damage. But in a cyber world, there is so much of things can be happening. That's why we need to take care of ourselves from our information and how to have a level of disclosure, not that much of disclosure, and everyone could be safer online. Hopefully
okay. Thank you. Okay, so there I have one more question in connection with that. One is, yes. You said that sometimes some people in order to in order to thieve our identity, they crack our account. So suppose, is there any means of getting an alert when people try to crack our account?
There is. Once you have going to the settings, you can tell them, okay, I need someone who is trying to crack my account, especially in Twitter. They have this specific alerts. Every single software, there is a setting wise, and there is also specific alerts. These alerts, you can see it in the mobile. For example, notification. Okay, notify me at 6 o'clock, I need to wake up. Notify me when someone is trying to attack me. Notify me when there is someone who push a like button. So there is so many alerts. There is also specific details. And also the app manufacturers, they improve their security in one way in another, just to keep their presence, because they're holding more than millions and millions of users, and they want to grow in that way. So they need to improve their security and also to improve their service around it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. I think Mrs. Vidya Sharvanan has a question. Vidya?
Yes, go ahead.
Vidya, are you available, Vidya? All right, so we will get back to her later. We have another question posted in our chat area by Mrs. Rajeshwari. She would like to know regarding the e-safety measures while doing mobile banking, internet banking, and online payment.
Internet banking, it's when you have a specific email address that is already authenticated with the user, with the bank user, and specifically in the payments. Sometimes you will receive some emails that, okay, click on this link, and it will open you some other link. For this kind of banks, they have their own banking system, they have their own security, and they have also a password kind of policy. So once you've opened your account in there, also in the online guidance, they will have some policies. Just read the policies and see what sort of specific policies, guidelines. They will say the same as we have explained here in the best practices, is you need to have a password that is longer than 8 characters. And these 8 characters should not be the same, should contain letters, capital letters, small letters, and also numbers and specific special characters. And the second thing is they will not ask you for what is your account number, even in email, or even they will pick a phone. Okay, ma'am, 1 2 3 4 5. What is your bank account number? What is your PIN number? They will not. They will never ask for these banks. And also for payments, is they have some payments gateway within the bank. Sometimes they direct you to the banking system. It will be more of a very secured way, because it will direct you directly to a specific central bank gateway, which will open you to your bank account in your bank. You can do the payment online, and you can close this website and close the other website and then go back to the same main page. So the security around the source of that purchase is very important. There is like a specific guidelines on how do you secure. It's very basic, but we need to be careful of which website we are entering. If we are entering the bank, it's very secured, and also it is backed up by the central bank. The online payment, it can be done also from the same bank, directly from the bank page, not even going to the trusted online banking. So online banking, there is so many, but also when you receive an anonymous SMS that you need to pay this, or anonymous email that you have an amount of outstanding 1 2 3 4 5, and you just, if it is on the website, it's easier just to run through the link, and you'll see that it's not the web link or the website that you are bought for. So you will have one sign of that. The second sign is sometimes in the context of the email, you'll have some spelling mistakes. Sometimes they will write the word wrong. Sometimes your name also, sometimes they will mix up and missing one letter, or even club it with another name. So just to be careful of how the content is read and how it is written, that's one. The link, you need just to go through the link, just to cover it by mouse, not clicking by it. You will see there is an index statement. It will show you what is the source of that link website. And the second thing is from where, because sometimes it's come from the same source, or it is from the mother source. That is the best way, just to keep your online banking to your online bank only. And if you want to use the online payment, use through the online banking itself, unless you go, for example, Etisalat, and you are already trusted with Etisalat for the online payment. Otherwise, it's mostly beneficial to make your online payments through the bank system, or you have some transfers that you need to pay from the online banking system. That is more secured, and they will never even raise a call and ask you for what is your PIN number, what is your account number, and we need you to update your credential. So they will never ask this, and they will tell you already in their policy and procedure that they need to inform you once you need to update this information. They will not ask even in email or by phone call. And sometimes when you call them, they will just verify who's the caller by a specific, either a specific question, security question, or you can just tell them what is the specific gateway name that they already provided by the bank. So it's already there and secured. Once you follow these instructions, you will minimize the areas and the gaps that can be potentially broken in the future. Hopefully I answered the question because it's very not that detailed, but very specific, but it can be going loops here and there.
Vidya, can you ask the question, please? She has posted it in the chat area. Is it required to clear the cache every time we open the browser? She's unable to unmute. So the question is this: is it required to clear the cache every time we open the browser?
Whenever you open the browser, it will save exactly what is the history of this browser or what time and what is your username and password. For example, in that, once you close the website, it will remove this information, because if you keep it open, the information is already there. Once you log off from that website and close this website, it will close the transaction automatically. Because once you keep it on, and before that, just to clear any cache from the system, there is a settings that you need to clear all the cache automatically without even going back and forth one transaction by another. So that is already cleared by the settings. Make sure you go to the settings and clear every single thing first time. Then every time you will do the transaction, just log in, make sure you log in the account, then close by clicking the X on the web page.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we are done with the questions from our staff side.
Okay, now I think we can move to the next session. We have another meeting as well.
So may I now request our dearest principal, Mr. Hamid Ali Yahya, to appreciate our resource person, Mr. Jumaa, by sharing a simple token of love from our side.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Thank you. You see, we are very happy to get a very resourceful person in Mr. Mohamed Jumaa, and we are so grateful to you for sharing all this important information with our staff. So we are giving you a certificate of appreciation as a token of our love and appreciation for the wonderful service that you have given to us. And of course, the certificate will be sent to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all listening and attending this session. It's for our benefit and our future generation benefit. And also, we need to educate our kids and youth and friends and family how it is important that when we live in this physical world, we can know how to deal with each other. But in the online world is so many different way. So we need to understand this different way and adapt to the changes, because once the technology changes, the policy will change, and also the habit and values will change. But our own values will stay the same, to protect our life and protect our information from any future online threats.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I will send you, Mr. Hamid, the material, and also added two extended material. One talks about the child safe in the metaverse, how to keep your child safe in the metaverse, and what is the 4 benefits to be a digital citizenship for internet safety.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much all, and have a good evening. And wish you the luck with the next.
On behalf of Scholars Indian School, sir, we would like to extend our sincere gratitude to Mr. Mohamed Jumaa for this wonderful session on eSafety, that is how to protect your information and to prevent from unsafe practices. I feel that even if you Google up, you wouldn't be able to get these many resources. In maybe 30 to 40 minutes. That's much packed it was. We were like all ears to grab everything, every word that you were trying to say. And we understand the importance of keeping ourselves safe, not in the physical environment, but in the online world too. So how difficult life can be if we don't take care of ourselves was very well explained to us, sir. So as you know that this is the first session that we are conducting as part of the Digital Citizenship Week, starting from today. And we have further sessions coming up for students and parents at the same time. And at this time, I would like to thank Engineer Adil, the co-founder and vice chairman of eSafe, for supporting us to conduct this session with you, sir. And I mean, our biggest thanks goes to him, and for making you available to educate us on this. And let me also remind my dearest colleagues to please fill in the attendance form, the feedback form given in the chat area, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you, Mr. Mohamed Jumaa. We will meet some other time. We require your support and guidance throughout, because this is going to be an ongoing program, and we need more and more support from you. Like when we come across a problem, that time we need a solution and we need guidance. So we will be bothering you further again.
You're welcome. You're welcome anytime.